Hi everybody, Zach here for another episode of our flagship program, The Spideydude Experience. This episode is brought to you by our loyal patrons over at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Pledge today and get both early access to content on the main channel, as well as entirely exclusive content, like brand new shows and commentaries for old Spidey stuff, including commentaries for the MTV series, for example, as well as the video editions for Voices from the Eyrie Gargoyles Podcast. And our Patreon first show focused on the Krakoan era of X-Men. We also want to encourage you to check out our other programs that are all available on Audio Edition. These are all over on Spidey-Dude.com, and they're available on your favorite podcasting app. Shows like Clone Saga Chronicles, the show that started this entire network, Spectacular Radio, Spectacular Sal Buscema era podcast, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, the Slot Symposium, and the sister program on this channel, Make Mine Mayday. As always, be sure to hit the like button. It really does help us big time in the algorithm. And additionally, if you have topics you'd like to cover on a live show or in a recorded medium, make sure to leave a comment down below the description or shoot us an email at SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. Finally, make sure to join our community. Be alerted to all new updates by hitting that subscribe button and clicking on the bell. But to be clear, your viewership is more than enough for us. And if you want to hang out with us off YouTube, you can always go to our Discord, where we have all sorts of fun stuff, or you can join us on our social medias and follow us there. All the links are down in the description below. As always, we want to be making some references to visual aids and or live comments. If you're an audio listener, pay that no mind, but leave that 5-star review for us. Any and all feedback we will read on future episodes. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get rolling with this episode of the Spideydude Experience. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Spideydude Experience. I am Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster of Spidey-Dude.com and executive producer of the Spideydude Radio Network. This episode, we're covering 4 issues. We're going to be covering issues 65, 66, 64, 65, 66, and 65.Deaths. So there'll be 4 issues covered in this particular episode. The reason we're covering 4 issues is because they added the extra deaths issue, and the issue 64 came out on Christmas, and we were off the air on ASM. So, but after last time doing the show by myself, this time I am joined by a special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Walter, aka the voice in Neil's head. Adam is supposedly going to be coming here on a little bit later. So welcome to the show. We've already got a comment from Ryan Reed. Hello, Ryan Reed. Hey, Zach, hope all is well. It is all well, at least on my end. We are definitely, we're talking a lot about 8 deaths of Spider-Man, and I'm so looking forward to this.
Oh, so am I.
All right. So Walter took pity on me last episode and said that he would come and join us for the next, and Adam will be here whenever he can be here. So,
you're stuck with me, buddy. This is not a one-time thing now. Okay. If I have to read this stuff, and after the torture I went through while reading this, I need vengeance, and you're my only target.
Well, it was nice having Walter on the show, and hey, Batman, I need vengeance. Who are you? Battinson? What, I mean, come on.
If things work out the way if things work out the way I plan, you'll find out who I really am on the next show.
Oh God. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. I did want to discuss really quickly. I know I was proven right about something, and that doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to share my screen and
okay.
All right. So Dan Yoon is one of the guys that works on the Marvel Legends team. I had speculated back in my 2020 5 reveals video that the 77 series Spider-Man was going to come out in March. Now, they already said it was going to be a Walmart exclusive in the US and Canada. So stay tuned for more. But basically, this confirms the time frame that I thought it was going to come out, which is out now. If you are at Targets right now, you can go find the new retro card wave of Spider-Man figures. Those are hitting Target shelves. Hello, Furious Fox.
Oh boy.
Oh. Normally Walter's in the comments trolling, but tonight we have a special guest. Furious Fox is going to be in here trolling us, or trolling Walter at least. So,
he's going to try. He does. Furious Fox, just remember, I know where you live, and I happen to cook the food.
Oh man. So
just so you know, guys know, I spill cocoa myself. I'm not sweating.
Yeah, the type you drink, not the type you. Never mind. So let's get into these 4 issues because we got a lot to cover tonight. I'll do the recap and Walter can react to me. So
you really want me to do that?
I'm kind of somewhat terrified. So apparently Furious Fox comes in peace for now. It almost sounds like a threat. All right, so issue number 64, aka legacy numbering 958. Justina Ireland, Gleb Melanikoff is the, and Mins is the inker. So we open with a conversation between Strange and Peter Parker, kind of going back and forth about it. This is the 4th part of the 8 Deaths storyline. This is the King of Pain. Macario Menez is the colorist. Joe Caramanga is the letterer, like always. So we go to later on at Gallery 862, where Peter is trying to show off some photos. But Peter's really not listening to what Randy's having to say, and so because he's like looking over his shoulder. Nearby, we have the twins. We have Kyra and I don't remember the other guy's name, but
Calyx.
Kyra and Calyx. They were from last issue. While we're watching Peter. Meanwhile, Peter shows up, talks to Aunt May, and then he sees they were following him, and so Peter is suddenly ready. So then they begin the fight. The dogs start get released, and so Peter saves the civilians. A bit of a fight ensues. Peter literally vaporizes the dogs, and it just we then cut to elsewhere where we have Shay talking with Aunt May. And so the basically he's like, I'll never yield to you. And meanwhile, the sister's like letting him get his ass kicked. And then we get to basically the next part of the story. So we get the letters pages, 2 pages of letters pages. And then we get the Spiders and Symbiotes, which is basically the new bullpen bulletins, and then cut to issue 65. Now, issue 65 is got a different creative team. So let's go through this creative team right quick. Mm-hmm. It is Joe Kelly. Kei-Fu is the artist. Frank Derrymania is the color artist. And Joe Caramanga is the letterer. So we open up.
1 second, Zach. 1 second. Just got a quick question. Joe Kelly's going to be the writer of going forward.
Starting in April, he'll get a new Shining number 1.
Okay. I'll say more later.
Hey, Father's Thoughts. If you don't like it, I'm still going to cover it. Good, bad, or indifferent. So, anyway. So, basically, Sierra was like, this is a waste of time, all of it. And we get to part 5, which is signifying nothing. So we are now halfway through this 10-part storyline. Yay.
I thought it was 8.
No, it's 10.
Oh, joy.
Yeah. So basically we pick up last issue, and then we kind of get to where Peter sees different people dying. The inevitability of death. We see Mary Jane as Jackpot die. We see Black Cat die. We see Betty Brant living to old age, but still dying. We see Jonah dying at his desk. We see Randy getting trampled in a very kind of in a protest, which is kind of like a full circle moment for poor Randy. Shay gets unalived thanks to car crash.
Someone going 100 mile an hour in New York. Yeah, that's realistic.
We get Miles and Bailey and Gwen, Spider-Gwen. They all die. Then we have Coulson, who of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers.
Oh, Mr. Biden?
Yeah. So Peter is trying to fight him, and then he literally falls to his knees and talks about all the people that have died and how everyone just gets forgotten. Meanwhile, Calyx attacks Peter, tries to go for a second going around, and then basically Peter then dies and is resurrected, and at the end of the issue, Peter quits. So we cut to the 65.Deaths. So this is basically a bonus issue, milking it out for all it's worth. They do this all the time. But this is Derek Landy is the writer, Kev Walker is the penciler. Kev Walker and Wade Von Grarbadger is the inker. Mata Anciano is the colorist, and Joe Caramanga is the letterer. Mark Bagley did the cover, which if you look at our media, the cover image, he did all the covers for this month, which is the 65, 66, and 65.Deaths. As we talked about previous, Bagley is pretty much done with doing interiors. He's just doing covers now, which is kind of sad. But I love this cover with the half skull, half mask. I thought that's pretty cool. So we then cut to kind of where we see a little bit of how Coulson becomes the embodiment of death. So Peter's talking to Doctor Strange, basically says, I don't care. This pretty much picks up right where the last issue left off. Turns out Strange in his astral form can see Coulson, and then they have a particular conversation. And basically, Strange is like, you've got to talk to this guy because, like, I can't get through to him, and this is your fault. So,
how the hell is it? No. Go on.
It's not really his fault, but it's the insinuation is there. So Peter and Coulson have a conversation. And so then Coulson looks into Peter's brain and sees different people that have passed away, like his mother and father, George Stacy, Ned Leeds, the burglar killing Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy getting snap, crackled, and popped. Norman getting unalived, Harry's alleged death, Flash's alleged death, Aunt May's alleged death. Peter Parker Spider-Man 75, where Ben Reilly actually died. So yeah. And Jean DeWolf's death as well by the Sin Eater. But then, Coulson kind of talks about, would Spider-Man be able to save everybody else? And we see some of his triumphs, like in Spider-Verse and Amazing Spider-Man 33, and Nothing Stops the Juggernaut. So basically, Peter's like, stop, that none of this matters. And then we kind of talk about how, then they kind of flash back to how Coulson became the embodiment of death. He had seen death prior to.
Go ahead. I'm trying to refrain from
interrupting me so we can get through this.
Yes.
So Peter, just basically ignores the responsibility of the world, and basically the Reeds have saved Peter Parker, but Peter Parker is dead. Spider-Man, death killed Spider-Man. So that picks us up to the most recent issue, and that is going to be different creative team once again. So this is Justina Ireland, Andrea Baccarado, Marco Menez, and Eric Arcindia is the color artist. So we pick up to where Crimson Chaos, Citorax throne room, where they're having basically a meeting of the minds. So,
what? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we then have the 2-page splash. That's basically the cover page. Peter is in Manhattan eating his pizza. He's like, he quit. So he talks about how he's disappointed all his friends, and every time he talks to somebody like Aunt May or Randy, he basically just keeps reliving seeing their death. And so they talk about how Strange would detach whenever they would fight, and Peter grieved every single one of these deaths. So Peter's, getting ice cream. There's a robber that shows up, and then Spider-Boy actually comes and saves the day. And Peter's like, I don't care anymore. And then Peter's in Times Square. Shay basically kind of was like, what are you doing? Why are you being a jerk? And so tries to give him a bit of piece of advice about how pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Like, basically, she tells Peter, hey, get out of your head and go see a therapist. This is how I feel. So she's like, I hope that helps. And then Peter just sees a bunch of dead bodies laying around. So we get to X-Men headquarters in Alaska. Juggernaut starts saying he's got a headache. Peter then shows up at Felicia's, and Peter then starts talking about how he saw everybody die and how nothing changed. The world just went on. And so, like, he's literally felt nothing. He's not feeling anything. And then Black Cat kisses Peter because Black Cat's trying to get him out of his head. And so the new dogs show up, basically, and then we get to the Kratos is the most insufferable human. Basically, where is the champion? Where is he at? And then the X-Men show up at the end of the issue, to be continued. So the current From the Ashes X-Men group show up, which, yeah. So another couple pages of letters pages, and then we get another couple pages of the open bulletins. So, yeah. Okay. So let's go through. Walter?
I made a promise to you to be nice.
I know.
And trust me, there are certain issues that I've read. It's going to be extremely difficult to be nice.
This is a story. Okay.
But
this is yeah, go ahead.
Let me give you all some background about me. I haven't read an Amazing Spider-Man comic. I think I read 3 issues, the first 3 issues of Nick Spencer's run. And that was what? 5?
2018?
Yeah. But before that, we're talking almost a decade since I read Amazing Spider-Man or any Spider-Man comic or comics at all. Okay. FYI, I did read issue 63, which, to be truthful, if I didn't read that one, 64 would have been really freaking confusing.
Yeah.
But starting with issue 64, I liked it. Shocking, I know. But it's one of those things where the story, I felt, was very... let me get back to my library here so I can actually look at 64. It felt like one of the, what I consider like a classic Spider-Man book.
Yeah.
Okay. Where you have an impossible situation where Spider-Man had to fight some villains that are way more powerful than he is. And he's in a situation that he typically doesn't find himself in, that he's dealing with magic. Because that's always been a great thing in a Spider-Man comic, is magic. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Okay. And the whole going and watching people die thing. Okay. In this particular issue, okay, I think, like with Aunt May's death, may she rot in hell, was handled very well. It's in character for Aunt May to willingly give up her spot for someone else, because if there was 0 chance for her to survive, give that spot to someone who's going to. Okay, that's kind of ties into Peter's upbringing of responsibility. I thought that was very well written. Okay. And the conversation that he's having during this whole time is very, very on par for his character. Death, inevitability of death. That's your kink. Okay, that's very Spider-Man. Okay, he's making quips to hide his fear. That's why he makes quips. He's scared. He's making bad jokes. Mind you of anybody, Zach? Okay, then the jackpot thing with Joe Biden in the background. Why am I making a Joe Biden joke?
Phil Coulson yeah, looks like.
When I first read it, I looked at it and I said, "Why is Joe Biden in this comic?"
Hey, man,
he happened to be.
Let's go out here. Come on.
It's like he
was death.
I mean, this is not political. That was a legitimate thought I had. It's like, why is Joe? Because I didn't know anything about Coulson becoming the agent of death. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said. Okay. I was like,
I didn't know about it until he got brought up in this story.
I was like, just. Then I finally figured out when he actually said the guy's name. I was like, not them, Coulson. I'm like going, that's Coulson? Why did he make him look like Biden? I mean, I just don't know what's going on at this point.
Yeah.
But the problem I have with this particular issue, I consider it well written. Okay, I'm not saying it isn't. Is the overplay of all the deaths. Okay, it's too much. Okay, they didn't have to go through the lengths they did. After put it this way: after Miles, Gwen, and Spider-Boy deaths, they could have just cut. They could have had the next panel where Spider-Man grabs onto Coulson and trying to get him to stop, and then have him go to the panel where he's on his knees and him and Coulson are holding on to each other, and Coulson trying to comfort Peter. To me, that'd be more powerful as a storytelling tool. We don't need this in between stuff where they're showing all these deaths, because now that's coming off like torturing the character, and it's not enjoyable.
Well, and so you're mainly talking about, the bulk of what you're talking about is 65, where we see all that. The first
I'm talking about this in between part where you got Coulson walk around.
Oh yeah. Well, and okay. So here's my thought about that: is I get why they did the Coulson like in between issue, the dot deaths, right? Because
no, not the dot deaths. I'm still in 64.
Okay.
Because I really did enjoy this issue. It's just this one particular part I didn't like. Okay, I think they overplayed it too much. Okay,
yeah.
If they would have just pulled back a little bit, this would have been a high quality issue. All right. Yeah. Okay, but they play their hand too strongly. What the hell was that?
Sorry.
Real quick. Mr. Fox, do not send me a text message. You're right next door, because I can hear it through my headphones and it distracts me. And
He's got just as many ADD as I do. All right.
Do not text me saying sorry. Jesus Christ.
All right. So let me go. Let me kind of just like give my thoughts, and you can kind of bounce off me. How's that sound, Walter? Because we're kind of all over the place. So starting with. So starting with 64, I thought the artwork is good. I think Gleb is actually somebody that needs to be part of the regular rotation. I think the artwork is very much a amalgamation of JRJR and Mike Ringo. I think he's
very, very dynamic, eye-catching.
Yeah.
There's no character deformations and stuff. I enjoyed the artwork very much.
I don't like the costume still. I think the costume is stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Like Spider-Man doesn't need a scarf. He doesn't need armor. It's just like, I get why they put the scarf in there, because if you don't have it, it kind of looks like the original Spider armor from like the 90s. But it just, I don't care. I don't care about any of this mystical stuff. Mm-hmm. The concept is what I'm having a hard time with. And I talked about that last episode, the last ASM episode, which started this story, right? I think Justine Ireland it gets Peter's voice down. I can't I can't put stock into what Father's Thoughts is putting in the comment section, because I honestly don't know. From, like I say, my only experience with Ireland was reading the Blood Hunt miniseries that she did previous to this. Mm-hmm. So I think I don't care about the twins. It is interesting to see that one of them is actually like sees humans as something more than just pawns.
Insects.
And insects and all this. I do like how Peter kind of was using his brain at the beginning of the issue to. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, look, I don't want to die. Like, the experience of dying again is not something he really wants to go through. And so, even though the inevitability of it, because the way this whole storyline is structured was kind of weird. The scene with Shay and May irks me, not because I'm irked by Shay. I get it. People like Father's Thoughts are going to be in the comments, talking about how we need Mary Jane, but I would love Mary Jane to be the love interest of the book. That's my preference. But until we get a new editorial staff, that's not going to happen. So
let me father's thoughts. Okay, I agree with you, Mary. I don't know the character Shay. The little bit I saw of her, it didn't really leave an impression. I don't feel I don't dislike the character, nor do I like the character. I haven't seen enough of the character to make a judgment of whether this is a good or bad thing. Okay, like I said, I haven't read the book. You guys getting a unique experience of someone that has really no clue to what's going on. Okay, this particular issue, all right, was an actual Spider-Man. Spider-Man was the main character of this issue. Okay, in 64, his dealing with all this stuff, we didn't have him playing second fiddle to anybody. And from what I understand, that's been the problem with the past run. But the dynamics of the characters and the interaction between the villains and Peter's allies, his support group, was very on par with the characterization of Peter Parker that I know. Okay. That's why I like this. To me, out of all the issues I've read, this is the strongest one. And it's kind of lucky I read 63, which I thought 63 was a much better issue than this one. Because Peter was more, what's the right word I'm looking for? On par with being the hero of the book. This issue, they're trying to do a deconstruction of Peter, of his past trauma, and all this stuff. His trauma of dealing with people dying.
Oops, I didn't mean to ban him. How do I unban somebody? Let's try to put him in timeout.
But if I would, out of the issues, all the issues I read, excluding 63, 64 is the best out of the bunch. And sadly, the next issue is probably the worst thing I've read in all of this. The 65 and 65.Deaths.
Yeah.
Okay. Having an issue dedicated to the character's suffering, I don't find entertaining.
Yeah.
They should have put a warning label on the front of this issue. Please take Prozac before reading. Okay, because you're going to get depressed. Okay, I don't find that entertaining. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd rather see how Peter works through this issue instead of wallowing in, I don't know, self-pity. It's not entertaining. It really isn't. And the whole, and they're dragging it out. There's no point of dragging this out other than, hey, how we're going to go back to the manifesto, the Parker luck, and Peter being a tormented character. Okay. Zach discussed this a little bit before. Without some positivity in an issue saying this is what, a little hint here, this is what's going to bring Peter back around. All you got is just torture. I don't know. When I go on vacation, the first place that doesn't come to mind is, hey, I want to go to Guantanamo Bay and see them interrogate prisoners. Because that sounds like fun.
On that note, Adam, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Walt.
Apparently, I meant to just give him a timeout, but turns out I might have accidentally banned somebody. So we are talking about. So what you're saying, Walter, is issue 64 and 65 you're okay with, but the second two issues you don't like, right?
65.Deaths. That's not an Amazing Spider-Man comic. That's a Phil Coulson comic.
Yeah.
I paid for Amazing Spider-Man, not for Phil Coulson.
Well, and that to be fair, those dot issues are. And correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. They kind of started doing this with Clone Conspiracy, if you remember, right? Like, you remember?
It might have been around there. Well, they were doing 0.1 issues,
right?
Like 10 years ago.
They did the 0.1 issues, and so those would be like a spotlight on a specific character. Even though we're not calling this 0.1, and it really is a 0.1 issue. So I understand what you're saying, though, because this is the problem with not having multiple books. Like, this would be a good side story in a Web of Spider-Man issue or a Spectacular Spider-Man issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, back in my day.
Well, I mean, you are old.
This type of story, this type of issue would be more along the lines of Web of Spider-Man, which deals with his surroundings, not actually him.
Yeah.
Okay. That's more in tune to Web of Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man was basically Peter being in the suit. Spectacular was about Peter.
Yeah.
And had a little bit of what drives him to be in the suit to begin with.
Yeah.
That,
hence why his name was in the title for the 130 issues.
Yeah, and the last problem with 64, they should never have ever, it should be a mandate. You cannot have Peter say, "I quit." Ever.
Okay, I'm going to push back on that. Because Peter's quit before. Peter's walked away from doing
several times.
Several times.
Yeah.
But I get why.
Times.
But what you're saying is the optics of him saying, "I quit."
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Now, I do want to, because yeah.
Well, my point is like the 20th time him saying "I quit" has lost its power.
It becomes the boy who cried wolf. I completely understand that.
Okay, would you prefer in that last panel him saying nothing at all? Just take a stern look at Strange and just like communicate that way. Okay, you don't have to make him say "I quit" or "I'm done" or anything like that. Just like,
well, I think if he had said, "I can't do this anymore," like, this is not fair, because the part of the issue is Doom pawning this off on Spider-Man,
which I don't get.
I don't get that. Well, because here's okay
reasons.
let me kind of back up, right? So Doc Strange stops being the Sorcerer Supreme. Doom takes over. Right?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Doom, and apparently this is something that Doctor Strange has to do every year as part of this compact between Sidorak and him. And because Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme, he can't do it, and he's kind of semi-dead, or he's basically just in the astral plane. And so then Doom pawns this off on Peter because
he's too much of a pussy to do it himself.
No, I think the implication is Doom doesn't have feels that it's beneath him, and that he should just give it to an insect, and it happens to be Peter that shows up. Whoa, my father's thoughts. You got to simmer down in the comment section, buddy, because like, wow. But so to me, so I kind of talked about 64. Let's get into. I'll get into 65. here for me. I really like the artwork. Keifu is one that I've seen his work on.
Wait, hold on. We're talking about 65.Deaths, or we're talking about the actual issue 65?
The actual issue 65. I'm sorry. So this is the issue that I was talking about. Sorry, let me flip those around. So getting to this issue for me, I think I don't dislike this one as much as as some of the others. This is Kelly writing again. I think Kelly does a decent job. I do also, as longtime fans will know, the Betty Brant dying of old age kind of made me chuckle, because like the running joke that we used to have about how Betty Brant's a horrible person, she would be the one to make it to old age. The deaths of the individual characters were somewhat over the top.
You think?
And I know that was kind of done on purpose, but like it just, I don't know.
It was too much. I mean,
Coulson is a very strange pick for the embodiment of death. And I know Brad had a big problem with that, right? And I get it from a narrative standpoint. Like, Peter isn't just experiencing the deaths of these people. He's experiencing the death of like 3 million. And that would be overwhelming for anybody in character, and especially someone who is as connected with humanity as Peter. You know, and whether you like it or not, whether you like the story, whether you like the people that are working on it, they deserve a fair shake in our analysis, right?
Well, don't get me wrong. I do issue 65, not the death ones. Yeah. Issue 65, I like. Okay, I think just one aspect was overdone. Okay, I think they needed to pull back the multiple deaths. I don't need a splash page of Peter seeing a whole bunch of deaths and being tortured with it. Okay, I think it decreases the value of the storytelling and doesn't make it as powerful. Let's put it that way. To leave stuff to an imagination of the reader, where later on we learn how many deaths he saw, that would have been a more impactful moment compared to literally shoving it in the reader's face. Okay.
Yeah.
Leave something to the imagination for the readers. Like, oh, he just saw the deaths of Aunt May, Mary Jane, the Spider family, Betty Brant, all that. The reader doesn't realize he saw 80 million deaths. Okay. Until late, but I think it's issue 66 that comes out that he saw millions. As a storytelling tool, leave something back for the reader to go, whoa. They took that out of play completely on this splash page of all these multiple deaths being shown to Peter, which narratively, I think there was some information on these panels that needed to be conveyed to the reader, but I think they could have done it a little bit of a different way. All right. I'm just because I don't like this one particular page, the whole book is not bad.
All right.
Okay. The important thing to take note in this whole book, when he never let go of the orb. He held on to it the whole time.
Yeah.
As a narrative tool, it shows you the strength of conviction that Peter has.
Right. Yeah.
Now, let's get. I'll jump into 65.Deaths.
Yeah, go ahead.
Love the cover. Like I said, I think it's a really unique cover. Mm-hmm. So, in trying to look at this story and trying to figure out how how do I analyze a story that I'm not feeling? Right?
Mm-hmm.
This issue for me was kind of like what the first Ireland issue was like for me, which was we're playing the hits.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, look, death's always been a part of Spider-Man. From the very beginning, the scepter of death, the sword of Damocles of death, hangs over the character. Death of Uncle Ben, the death of the Stacys are fundamental parts to the character. The fact that he was an orphan, taken in by his aunt and uncle. And I think my issue with this book and this story is that it's trying to it's attempting to tell this philosophical story, but I don't think it's landing. It just is a chore, and I think this was the issue that really solidified that for me, because like the issue that it's like death changes us, right? Is I think that what they're trying to do is specifically in this issue when you first see Coulson seeing his grandfather dead, right? And then he sees the embodiment of death later on.
Can I say something here? Something I find funny with this issue.
Yeah.
Coulson and Peter basically sitting on the couch, and Coulson just going through Peter's memories here. He looks like he's watching a damn DVD.
He's got it's like
he's sitting there with the hands on his lap, and he's like, "Oh, this is an interesting movie." Oh,
it's like it's like what if Peter and Coulson are Beavis and Butthead?
I was like,
look at Gwen Stacy's next now. God,
I mean, like the panel where you got the Spider-Verse and Peter's race saving a baby, it cracks me up every time because Coulson's sitting there like, wow, this is interesting.
Yeah. But again, in reading this issue, it just was like, I don't know. It's supposed to try to color the perception. It also, like, for me, like them bringing up the death of Aunt May was kind of interesting because canonically it's not something that exists, right? So he's remembering the death of the actress, and is Harry still dead? I don't know. I mean, the way they ended the Spencer run made that very confusing. I did see the triumphs though, Peter's done good things, right? I got a lot of Angel Medina vibes with the artwork. Adam, you remember Angel Medina? He did like the
yes.
During the Clone Saga, he did a couple issues of Amazing.
Yeah.
And then he did Marvel Knight Spider-Man, it became sensational. Yeah. So kind of got that vibe, especially with the kid, like the kid version of Coulson. Definitely got that vibe. So I didn't dislike it. It just, I don't know if it was needed. Right.
Right. Well, I think that's the biggest thing is it just kind of feels like filler.
It definitely felt, it seems like,
and then the whole arc is filler. So then
it's like filler of the filler. It's like the Twinkie of Spider-Man, because basically we're just buying time. We get Justina Ireland back for the final issue of that we're covering tonight. Again, Peter being just an inconsiderate dick. I don't ever like that. Like, he can be a jerk sometimes, but like he's completely just lost the plot. And I understand somewhat like
there's times where Peter needs to do this. You need Peter sometime to, if he uses a supporting cast correctly,
right? When
Peter steps back and says, "Hey, I need space, I need time alone." Granted, he never actually says that; he just does it. The reaction of the supporting cast, as long as you got a strong supporting cast, will react to that and help turn Peter around. In this, he's looked like he's going to lose his best friend. Aunt May's going to cut complete ties with him, which, in my personal opinion, is not a bad thing. And him basically breaking up with Shay?
Yeah.
What kind of name is Shay? It sounds like a dance move.
I also kind of liked how Peter cannot see humanity right now. Like, even though there's thousands of people around him, right? All he sees is dead people. Like it's the reverse Sixth Sense. Like, that's a bit of an interesting tidbit. I wish that I had Neil here because I am not reading X-Men.
Oh, that's what threw me off. I don't know what this has to do with the Juggernaut at all.
Well, the Juggernaut, his powers come from the crystal that he grabbed, the crystal Sidorak.
Yeah.
So he is. This is actually makes sense that he would show up in this story. But he is a hero. I knew that. From like before the Krakoan era. The scene with Black Cat,
Shay?
Freudian slip.
Black Cat. Oh, Black Cat. Oh.
I get what she's trying to do there. But I know, like, some people on the internet, like, well, now Peter's a cheater. Oh, he's a cheater.
No, he's on a break.
Well, it's not even that. It's like Black Cat is trying to get him to snap out of his funk, because this is a funk that he's like funky funk. As somebody that's read every book, well, almost every book, I'm gone. I've read every book, but I'm rereading through like post Clone Saga pre-reboot stuff. So, having read almost every Black Cat appearance, it makes sense. She would do this to try to snap him out of it. So that scene was in character. There's certain things about that Ireland does that I'm like, okay, Ireland is not somebody that doesn't get Peter Parker's voice. I know what Father's Thoughts is going to throw in the comment section. I did briefly look up what you were talking about. My issue with that is that I'm not going to get into the social justice warrior crap. It exhausts me. Basically, she's made some apparently Justine Ireland's made some comments that some people have taken the wrong way, especially comics gators. Looks like.
Okay, hold on.
I don't.
I'm going to solve this issue for you. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been reading Spider-Man since the 70s. Anybody who says there were not social issues in a Spider-Man comic hasn't read enough Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the difference. A lot of those stories were entertaining. The social issues were just a minor subplot.
They weren't.
They weren't the story. Okay.
Right.
I understand what comics gators were upset about. Okay, but the whole idea that social issues were never in comic books is an asinine statement. Okay, they were there. Just the stories were far more entertaining when Comicsgate happened. Okay, I get it, but don't go looking for what a creator said in an interview, because God knows if you believe what a celebrity says in an interview and you take it verbatim and you can't read anything or watch anything they take part of, go ahead and do it. There's nothing wrong with that. God knows I'm an expert in that field. I dropped Spider-Man for almost 15 years.
Yeah.
I came back to do this because, one, I want to help Zach. Two, just to entertain myself. Okay. But in the same token is I'm trying to be fair. All right.
And that's the thing. And this is where I'm kind of I want to dovetail off that point.
Uh-huh.
When I was on, and Adam hates when I'm going to bring this up but I'm using this as an illustrative point. When I was on Crawl Space,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I didn't like a lot of what was going on as it was being published, right? And having gone back and reread a lot of the books recently for the Slot Symposium, I kind of I've mellowed out a lot. I don't necessarily agree with Dan Slott's politics. But if I'm going to read one of his books, I'm going to be fair with what's on the page and not let anything outside of it color my perception. So, dovetailing it to here, I don't know what Justine Ireland has said, hasn't said. All I know is what I know of what's written on the page. This show and my job, and when I left Crawl Space, there were some things that I wanted to change in my style and my approach to analyzing books. Because if I sit there and I try to be negative all the freaking time, I'm going to be miserable. And there came a point. There came a point when I was at Crawl Space where I was reading the books because of the show, not because I was enjoying the books themselves. And while there is a level of that here, I am learning that life's too fucking short to be mad about comics.
And to respond to you and to Father's thoughts, because I'm finally seeing his comments.
Okay.
Father's thoughts, I understand. I was you 15 years ago. The danger of what you're doing, and I'm not trying to, this is for all comic books fans, not specifically you.
And look, I wasn't. Please understand, Father's thoughts, because I'm caught up on your comments. I'm not calling you that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is when somebody makes a comment like what you said, and then I go look at it, and the first thing that pops up is stuff from that's.
You can become the thing you hate.
Well, and look,
I know. That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, those that know me from the old message board, I was TS Champ. And there was a big brouhaha between me and Dan Slott. Okay.
You were known as that guy.
Yeah, I was known as that guy. I mean, Dan Slott brought me up on CBR. And CBR had message board. He used me as an example as a toxic fan. Okay. Now, I don't hate Dan Slott, the person. Okay. I don't particularly enjoy his writing. Okay. As a person that concerned by storytelling, I didn't particularly enjoy his writing. The Comics Gay thing where, hey, I'm a veteran too, Father's thought. Desert Storm. Okay.
Thank you for your service.
Don't become what you hate. Don't become, if you think someone, writer is toxic, don't become as toxic as them. Because then you're no better.
Well, and look,
okay. I mean, I don't know how Adam feels.
I don't like Ibram. Oh, okay. I don't like Ibram X. Kennedy's politics necessarily.
Who?
But I read his Captain America run and part of his Black Panther run, and it was fine. Didn't blow me away.
You got to separate politics from the artist. Okay, there's a lot of movies.
Now, if she said things that are abhorrent about anybody, then she needs to be that needs to
Okay,
be
about
addressed,
themselves.
but that needs to not be addressed by us. That's got to be
Yeah,
addressed by Marvel.
like,
Right?
I don't know what Ireland said. I really don't. Here's the thing: I don't care.
And look, I'm happy you're here. Don't misunderstand. I know you're looking for a show. I get it. And hopefully, even if here's my thing, even if you don't agree with everything we're saying, I hope that you can find a way to enjoy the show. That's my belief and thought. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a show that is as fair as I can be, while still being critical.
I mean,
Now,
if you're going to be critical of the book, be critical of the book.
Yeah,
The storytelling, the art, all of that stuff. Okay.
And
what
look,
a writer says in an interview, it's like Snow White, that actress saying that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I really don't care what she says. Reason why I'm not going to go watch Snow White, because it looks ugly as hell.
Well, yeah, that's all that money they paid on that CGI. Whew.
It looks ugly as hell. I am not going to go see it for that reason. I really don't care what a celebrity or a comic book writer has to say about race, politics, or sexual orientation. What I care about, can they entertain me for my $4.99? That's what I care about.
You know, Anthony Mackie kind of stepped in it because he was overseas. He was talking about Captain America and everything like that. He doesn't talk.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
And so, speaking, what's up, Pete Thug?
Hold on.
Okay. Well, I'll mute you for a second.
Hi, Chris.
Hello. 1 second. I'm trying to get this all figured out here. I'm using new technology apparently. So.
Uh-oh. So anyway, my thing about the whole Mackie thing is a nothing burger. It's blown up out of proportion. I understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to cater to the audience that he was talking to.
Yeah, he was in Europe.
He was in Europe.
He was trying to get the Europeans.
He's trying to hype his movie in Europe. I think his heart was in the right place. I think he misspoke. I don't think there was any malice intended by his comments. And his clarification, I think, kind of proved that too. So,
I mean,
anyway,
the Mackie thing is a non-issue. It was more along the lines of the situation he was in, where he was at, giving an interview. He was trying to sell his movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Could he have worded it different? Yes.
Absolutely.
But when you do it off the cuff things, sometimes your mouth spits out stuff and your brain goes, ooh, I shouldn't have said that.
I've talked with like friends that do these press junkets, and these actors and actresses are sitting there. A lot of times they're answering the same damn questions over and over again, and their brain turns to mush, and they'll say crap that they don't necessarily mean. And I'm sure that he was jet lagged, and he's been going all around the world promoting this thing because it comes out in 2 weeks. Like, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. But all that being said, there one person I do want to hear from who hasn't talked much about these books is Adam. Adam, tell me what you think about these books, and then we'll go to
hello. Well, so I caught up. I read because my thing was I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna basically read up to what we're doing for this show, and probably take another break, and then I'll come back for the finale of this. But so my thought basically 61 and 62, great Ed McGuinness art, but it just kind of cements the fact that I'm not a fan of Joe Kelly's Spider-Man, really. Like, it's just it's too, like, I don't really like how he writes Peter. He just seems too juvenile, and Spidey's too quippy, and just, I don't know. But the art was great. That's the thing. But Peter just seems so immature, and I don't know. The concept of this story in general just feels like a filler thing to me. I think Beyond was a little more enjoyable, but this is a little kind of like, I mean, this is fine, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. There's
You know-
stakes, but there like, kind of aren't stakes because we know. I mean, he's gonna be fine. Like, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know. Okay, at least with Beyond, it felt like
A continuation, sort of. I mean, this also feels like it's kind of continuing from Wells' stuff, but not really. I mean, some of the supporting character stuff, but other than that, like, you know, it's just kind of this could have happened, I guess, at any point in the last 10 years, which is
somewhat
fine,
of an
I guess.
indictment on Spider-Man writing in the
Yeah.
last decade.
So yeah, and then 63 and 64, Ireland comes in and Gleb comes in, and I like Gleb's art. I thought he was really good. I like his kind of, like you were saying, he kind of reminded you of Ringo a little bit, Zach, right?
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
what if Ringo's art and Romita Jr.'s art
Yeah,
had a baby?
I agree with that. Yeah, he's good. He's got that, you know, that 90s 2000s Spidey style going, which I think it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
Justina Ireland I liked more than Kelly, at least for 63 and 64, because I don't know, he did excuse me, he didn't seem as he seemed a little more confident and mature, and I don't know, it just kind of, it was working more for me there than the Kelly stuff. But then 65, I don't know, like it was fine plot wise, but then it just felt like Kelly was venting about nihilism, and I was like, all right, sure, whatever. And then the deaths issue was, I thought it was fairly thoughtful, but just felt like filler within the filler. And then 66 is just a weird one where, again, it just it's I think it's the weakest Ireland issue, and it just kind of feels like she's venting about nihilism, and I'm just like, I don't know. And then you have him like confiding in Black Cat, and it's like, can't we? And you know, because we can't have him confide in Mary Jane these days, so. And we're, you know,
Well, she's in the Venom book, so
true, but still, I don't know. This is a weird story that is kind of like, I mean, it's fine, but it's just, it feels off. The vibes are off, but there's some cool stuff in it, but it's just, I don't know.
I have a question. When did Ireland actually start? Because I don't remember. I thought she started just the last couple issues.
Yeah, she was in 63 and 64. She started.
Yeah.
Or 64.
So she did before this in the Spider Office. She did the Amazing Spider-Man.
The gang stuff.
She did the Blood Hunt stuff. So she did the 3-issue miniseries of Blood Hunt, and that's the one that we were making fun of because it actually canonized It's Morbin Time.
Right, but hold on. When did she start on this though? Like, she didn't do the main story.
Yeah, this is the story that she
main
started.
story.
Yeah.
No,
this was her first time writing.
Yeah, first time with the main story, right?
Yes,
like with okay. That's what I thought.
I think the first issue that she came on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, was issue 63.
Yeah,
that was the first, and the previous issues were written by Joe Kelly, if I'm not wrong.
Joe Kelly did 61 and 62. He did 65, and then Justina Ireland did the other issues, except for the Deaths issue was done by let me look. That one was done by.
That was Joe Kelly.
That was not Joe Kelly.
I thought it was.
Nope, it was not Joe Kelly. It was Derek Landy. Now, all of this is under the plot of Joe Kelly.
Right.
But it's it's his, the meta arc is all Joe Kelly's, but they are just writing the individual issues.
Yeah.
To give him time to do Stardust Run on Amazing, which apparently he has now scripted his 12th issue of his run. They just got the scripts in. So, according to Nick Lowe on Twitter. So, yeah, that's how far ahead we are.
Yeah. No. Adam, do you have any more to say? I didn't want to interrupt you anymore.
Not really. I'm pretty much done. Yeah.
He's
By
tapped out.
the way, Adam, like that beard, man. Keep that beard going, bro. Keep it
Maybe.
going. Pizza time. I miss pizza time. It's funny,
I've missed you, buddy.
I miss you too.
Are you in an undisclosed location? Are you not in the man cave?
Oh, I'm in a different portion of the man cave. This is the media room.
Ah,
So
okay.
This is where I watch and I spend most of my time because this is my workstation. I'm using my iPad, but this is my workstation, like right here for work.
Oh,
So
okay.
I spend majority of my time in here, and it's actually warm. It's cold as hell outside right now, so I am not doing that. No,
We had
been a
snow
while.
in Houston, which is just
That's what Javi was saying. Yeah, that's what Javi was saying.
It was
Yeah, y'all. Miss come on the show. Wanted to drop a line and say what's up, and also just talk about Spider-Man for a quick minute. So, yeah, it was pretty weird because this whole death. I think this death storyline is kind of fun. You know, I like the first couple issues. I like the idea. I like incorporating Juggernaut and the Sidorak and like all that stuff. Like that's super fun. So I'm liking all that. I like that part. I have no idea if you guys dislike it or like. I have no idea. I've enjoyed.
I'm like I've told you privately. I'm just not feeling it. I'm trying to be fair for it though. In my analysis, it's not my.
It's a mixed bag.
It's very much a C+ story to me.
So far, what I've read is a lot of hit and miss. Okay, I mean, I basically jumped on issue 63. I didn't read 61 and 62, but a lot of it is, in my personal opinion,
to have you guys. That's why he jumped in. By the way, this is Walter, Paul.
Hi, Walter. Nice to meet you.
Oh, you know who I am. You got my voicemails.
He's our voicemail leaver.
Okay, but I feel, and not to degrade anything, I feel the story's really, really unnecessary.
Well, I would argue a lot of stories are unnecessary, but that's just me. You know, here's the thing with this. You know, one thing with this Spider-Man story is I like the fact that it's incorporating different kinds of canon. I like that. I've always been a Juggernaut fan, so that like the Sidorak thing has always been cool for me. Even though I effing hate him in the X-Men. What the hell is that? He's not a mutant. Get that shit out of the X-Men. I'm sorry. If you're human, you shouldn't be an X-Men. Period. End of story. That's just me.
But he's the half brother of Charles.
No, it's like me trying to act like I'm like, you know, I'm half I'm an honorary, I don't know, like just enter any kind of race you put me in, and I'm not that race, you know, and it'd be weird, be like, I'm actually this. It's like that's pretty weird, but you know, whatever.
You're like Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, even though they're all the Bloodline people are Samoan, and Sami Zayn is like a French Canadian.
It'd be like the jerk in Steve Martin.
Yeah, oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's,
I was born a poor black child.
Exactly, doesn't make sense, or it's meant for laughs. It's not, and that's what bums me out. It's like this is not Juggernaut. I love the Juggernaut. So anyway, but besides that whole shenanigans, I like the Sidorak stuff, and I liked all that idea, like expanding on that. And then the whole Doctor Strange thing, the whole Doctor Doom angle, because you're prepping the whole Doom storylines coming up. There's really inspired ideas here. I really do think that. The problem, I think, is the fact that it's, I don't know. I feel Joe Kelly's fine. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's overly great either. And that's kind of more of like kind of Zeb Wells for me. It's more in line of that. It's just kind of more of the same of we're getting a Spider-Man that's very just it's safe, it's fine. It feels very like we gotta prove, we gotta hit the points of like he's single and he's this and he's that and then he's got Aunt May and like those aspects are tiresome, but that's been tiresome for eons. It feels
actually one thing I wanted to say is I thought, at least in the first like 4 issues or so of this, that it's not perfect, but there's like a decent balance of the Spider-Man stuff and the Peter stuff and supporting cast stuff. It's not, it's not leaning too much into the Spidey stuff. Totally.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is about I've argued on here before about the what's the word I'm looking for? The supporting cast. Yeah, supporting cast, and how I feel that's overblown a little bit, to be honest. I mean, I'm not sorry, I don't want to downgrade it either, but I also think it's like overstated too, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I do feel this is a good balance of that. Yeah. This is I would say that. I really enjoyed. I just like the premise a lot. I love the idea of like Spider-Man doing this for Doctor Doom, and and the whole idea of dying all these different times. That there's really cool ideas there. I just don't know if it's being executed the best way, And I think that like the Justin, go to the modern issue. I just read these issues the other day, and I have a little bit of a history with Justina Ireland because I'm a Star Wars fan, and she did a lot of High Republic stuff, and has done a number of Star Wars projects. It sucks because like she did like these anime novels for the High Republic, and they're not terrible, but they're not really great either. I remember being like super stoked because I've really been getting more into manga lately. So I got really excited about that. I'm like, oh, it's High Republic. It's got a Wookiee Jedi. It's gonna be so cool. And it just wasn't that great. And I just kind of was like, this kind of sucks. And so I don't know. I don't want to be harsh on her. She's just not. She doesn't really move the needle. And it sucks because I thought her. Again, the idea, it wasn't a terrible issue, the Deaths issue, because she wrote the Deaths issue, right? And this one?
No, the Deaths issue was written by was Derek Landy was the writer, Kev Walker was the penciler.
Oh God, Kev Walker. Oh, can we not have him on any projects anymore, please? I'm not a fan. No offense, Kev. Homie.
It gave me like Angel, I talked about this I think earlier when Adam and you weren't here, but it gives me or Adam may have helped me remember, Angel Medina vibes, like poor man's Angel Medina,
or just poor man's everything. I just don't like Kev Walker as an artist.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It's not my thing. It's too stylized for me, and I just for Spider-Man, I've seen it. He's done another Star Wars person. He did a lot of Star Wars work, and I know he must be efficient because he keeps getting work in Marvel. I just don't see the appeal personally, but that's just my personal taste. I've been personal against him, but yeah, not a fan. But the one that issue was like, just kind of a weird. I don't understand the point of that issue, to be honest.
And that's kind of what Walter was saying earlier before you got on. It felt like less a Spider-Man issue and more of a Phil Coulson issue, being the embodiment of death.
Yeah, whatever. And Justina Ireland's issue about the whole I like the ideas. The plotting's all good. I don't have any problem with the story. I don't have any problem with any of that stuff. I just think the execution isn't great. Like Justina just didn't like Peter. I like the idea of Peter being like, forget this, I'm tired of dying, and almost the whole idea of turning his back on Spider-Man and his old life because he's died. He's seen the idea of what's the point when everyone dies? There's really cool stuff there. It's just not really explored, or it's like, oh, give me a reason to live, Black Cat, let's go bang. It's like, okay, I get it. That's.
See, I didn't read it like that. I read it more like that was Felicia trying to snap Peter out of his funk.
and that I well, literally snap him out as fuck. I get it, like, right? But but the thing is,
okay, Brad Douglas, she's all about sex. I'm just kidding.
Well, but that's the thing though. Like, you didn't have to use any kind of like intimate setting to do that. When we're supposed to be close already, right? And I don't know. It's all there. It's just not. To me, Peter should have like gone deeper, and I feel like they could have switched the issues. Like, they almost could have put this one as the deaths issue, and then this one could have been more exploratory of like Peter finding himself the reason to live as Spider-Man, and having to like why is death so important to Peter? Like, right? Like, why is it so hard on him? Like, it is for everybody, right? We all lose people.
It's one of those things, like, I think about this now. It's like, why? I mean, should Peter really be having this intense of a reaction, though? Like, because he's not 15. Like, he knows that everyone's going to die, even if he saves people. Like,
now, hold on. This is where I think they missed the boat. I feel there's a lot of good story potential there, because he grew up with grief. Like, I don't want to undermine anyone. We all grew up with grief and trauma in our own right. Like, everyone has trauma in their life. It's just reality. What degrees of it are all different, but everyone has some kind of trauma in their life and growing up. The reason why I think that where they missed a boat on this, and they touch on it a little bit, is the fact that he grew up with his parents dying. Like, they're dead. Uncle Ben's dead. And like that.
Let's go back to the child within, I guess.
Yeah, like, it's kind of like we're going.
The guilt is like has been even before Uncle Ben's death.
I wouldn't even call it guilt at this point. This is where I would say just the fact of like that loss weighs heavy on him, and the fact that he's experienced it now. Like, there's so much potential to explore of like, what should I be doing? Like, am I prioritizing the right things in my life? Like, those kinds of things that you could, when you have near-death experiences, you need to have the ability to be like, oh, like what, like really put yourself in doubt. Like that all tracks for me. But again, it's just like, well, I'm gonna go see Felicia. It's like, what? like no. I mean, like I maybe at some point on your journey. Yeah. But like, there's so much emotional depth there to really get into the nuts and bolts of Peter Parker and what makes him take a Spider-Man, that just was kind of like, I don't know. That I just felt like there was a lot of great potential there that was totally dropped.
Well, as someone that technically had a near-death experience with my diagnosis, it does change your perspective, which is not being communicated through this comic. Okay. If you go through the 5 stages of where you get a life-threatening diagnosis, the first one is denial. I'm not sick. Okay. And then there's anger. Okay. Then there's depression. Okay. We saw the anger part. Okay, in the end of issue, I believe 64. Okay,
yeah,
he saw Peter be angry that he couldn't stop death. Okay, he felt powerless and he couldn't do nothing about it. Okay, I wish they would explore that a little bit more, because that's the whole crux of Peter's fight with death, that he's always gotten angry when someone's died. He felt powerless and he couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
All right. That's typical of his character. But they're hanging on to the depression for far too long, as far as the story goes.
He's been depressed for 3 issues now. Like,
okay, you need to move on to acceptance. Okay, we need to move the story forward, and dragging it on for 3 issues is a little much.
So I will say this, moving forward, just so everybody knows. Now, this is according to the solicitations. The artist that did this issue is coming back next issue with Justina Ireland. She's going to be doing the next 2 issues. And then Christos Gage and Mark Buckingham are going to do the Deaths issue in February. And then March will be just 2 issues. 69 and 70 will be Kelly and McGinnis are back. So, okay. So I know it's really hard to kind of, we got a lot of issues that we're covering, but so I'm going to ask for an overall grade of the story. Paul, we'll start with you.
Yeah, 'cause I have to head out in a few minutes. Right now I'm probably going to be. It's really hard for me because it's the last couple of issues are just kind of like they feel like they're treading water a lot. Whereas before these 2 issues that I just read, it felt pretty complete.
Yeah.
So as a whole, I want to say I probably give it it sucks because I don't want to be like the guy who's always like being like giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, but my heart tells me B- because I like the story.
Decent. I
like a lot of it. I don't love a lot of it. I like a lot of it, which is I think part of of any comic you read, you want to like the majority of it. I do like the majority of it. It's just not the best executed, though I know where it's kind of going. And I'm kind of excited about that. But at the same time, these last 2 issues I read were just kind of felt like, I kind of want more. I just want a kind of a more adventurous writer, I would say, like, and not just in Ireland, but like we're talking Joe Kelly. It's like I would like someone who kind of like, I go back to Nick Spencer as the last legitimate good Spider-Man writer, where I'm like, he really gets it, and he not only gets it, but he's pushing things forward. It felt like a lot of times, and I miss having that singular voice where I really can trust the writer, know where they're going, and it makes things fun, but also knows the character super well. We haven't really had that in a long time since Spencer, and I really miss that. And Joe Kelly gets it; he understands. I don't think he's a bad Spider-Man writer, but he's just not like, he's not exciting to me.
No.
Can I use a sports analogy, Paul?
Yeah, I know what you're going to use. I already know what you're going to use.
You know how excited I am about the Cowboys' new head coach.
Right? Listen. I'm telling you right now, Shoddy is going to surprise you. I mean that with 100%.
No. I've mellowed out a little bit, but my issue is how the process was.
Sure, I get it.
And it was going with the comfortable pick instead of trying to do something new. And I think that's kind of how I feel about Spider-Man, and we're constantly going back to the Brand New Day group. It's like, can we get a fresh face on Spider-Man that has a vision like Nick Spencer did?
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm at with it. So am I making sense?
I think that totally makes sense. I think that like the Nick Spencer, it just, he was exciting. And he had a really cool like idea, and it like there's a lot of great things about Nick Spencer that, let's be honest, he didn't fulfill it. Whether it's his fault or not, it remains to be seen. We won't know for a while about that. But I will say that I think Joe Kelly. I keep saying that it feels like they're just trading water for the next Spider-Man movie. I keep saying that. I keep feeling that way because it feels like they're trying their hardest to keep Mary Jane and Peter separated, but keep her relevant. And that to me is like, roll my eyes, like, I get it. Like, that's what it feels like.
To me, her being in Venom just is weird. I get it from a narrative standpoint. You're putting Paul and her in the book with Dylan. But it's like we're sticking a bunch of square pegs into round holes at this point to do something different with Venom. And I'm like, I know he's his own franchise, but at this point, it's like, what are we doing?
But again, it's like, well, what do we do with Peter, with Mary Jane? Because you made her a superhero, Lord knows why. But you know what I mean? Like, you have to keep her relevant and keep her story going because, when you eventually have to get Peter and Mary Jane together, you have to have a reason, and you have to have like, where have you been? What have you been doing this whole time? If you had her just kicking, being a family lady or with this random dude with these made up children that'll eventually evaporate. You know, it's like
they were the water clone children. No.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like so, and that's to me. This is to me. I think this is the problem, is the fact that like just everything feels like a treading water, and that's what probably is ultimately makes me the most frustrated, because it feels like they're just like, what do we do until we get like closer to the next Spider-Man movie? Hi, Javi.
I know, right?
Is this a comic binge? No, I was a couple
days
ago.
It's a New Year's miracle.
Like, look, I mean, in the new year, it was say his name and he appears. So.
But like, yeah, this to kind of wrap up here. Like, and maybe who knows? I'll probably be wrong, but everything feels like Beyond felt like a treading to get to Zeb Wells, you know, and Joe Kelly feels like he's a stopgap, and.
I completely agree. I don't know, because like they talked about it in the first letters pages, right? That he was going to do a short run.
Yeah.
So we know that he's going to do a run. I don't know if he makes it past 25 of the new volume, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, then you're on. I mean, I don't know how many issues we got left before. We're at what?
25 is 2 years. That's 2 years. So
25
years.
It's
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year
Spider-Man.
with the
yeah, true.
So it's you know, like I kind of get the feeling that I don't know if Kelly's going to go all the way to 1,000, but like before 1,000, we're going to see probably another reboot. I get that in my bones.
It feels like I hope this is the case. I hope they're looking for the next Nick Spencer or something like that now, who's going to take Spider-Man into this new and start preparing for when Mary Jane and him eventually get back together, because that's going to happen at some point. It's inevitable. And the thing is,
can I give my theory?
Yes,
I heard somebody say on 4chan, and before we talk, before we discuss it, 4chan did say that Kelly was going to be the next writer a long time before.
All right, so what are they saying? Tell me. I gotta leave soon. So what is it?
They threw JMS's name out there, and if they're going to bring back Mary Jane as a love interest in the book, it would make sense to have JMS be the writer of that. And I think a lot of people would be happy.
Is he throwing things around the room because JMS may be coming back?
Okay. Back to the grades for a second.
Well, let me say my piece. I'm going to bail out.
All right.
It would not shock me, because JMS is sticking around Marvel and doing random shit. So like that does not surprise me. I don't know if he's a long-term answer either. It feels like he'd be another stopgap, because it feels like, what do I do? Like if you're Nick Lowe and you've got like you're trying to figure out who's going to take over Spidey, and nothing's really jumping at you as like the next writer to sit down and be on it for like 3-4 years or even 2 years as a whole. Like, maybe Zeb Wells is the last person, because he was on it for what, 2 years almost? Or was 2 years?
It was like about 3.
Was it 3 years? Anyway,
like 2022. I don't know.
Hang on.
Well, he had a lot of issues though. So
he had 60 issues.
So yeah, and Zeb Zeb to me was fine. He was a good, solid, probably B minus. Like I don't think he was terrible. He had some pretty fun stuff in there. But anyway, like you have Kelly, you have JMS. These are people who are like kind of just retreads, and even Zeb Wells is kind of a retread, but he hadn't gotten a lot of work. But like
people that are from the 2000s, like 2000 to 2010, it's like we need someone else.
I think it's just more of like who's gonna take Spider-Man to the next level. And we know, and I'm sorry, but I love JMS, but he's already done it.
Sure.
So it feels if you get Kelly and you get JMS, it's just like, how do we get Spider-Man to the next? Who's going to take over Spider-Man and bring him to the next level? So like what they're doing with Superman right now. I mean, look what's going on. You have what's his name? I love Josh Williamson. He's doing great stuff with Superman. And then you have now Mark Waid and like Josh Williamson is kind of, him and Philip Kennedy Johnson started and Kennedy kind of went away now, but now Williamson's kind of taking over. He's doing really great stuff over there. And he's kind of taking Superman into the next level. Like that's who I think they're looking for. Who is that next writer? And they just don't like DC has all the good writers right now. They just do. Well, all the young up and coming writers are all there. Well, so, like what I'm going to bail out now, but like the thing is they need to find their Spider-Man writer for the future who's going to take them and lead them. And these people right now, if it is JMS, it's probably just going to be for a year and a half. So it's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to get it done?
Jed McKay.
I love Jed. I don't know if he's the right guy for Spider-Man. And I've read a shitload of Jed McKay. And I love Jed McKay. I haven't read his Black Cat. I read his Moon Knight. His Moon Knight's fantastic. His Avengers is really good.
You need to read the Black Cat book because I think
I'll eventually get there. Yeah. But the thing is, I don't know if his voice is perfect for Spider-Man. I just don't know. I like him. I love Jed. His Taskmaster miniseries, fantastic. I don't know if he's right for Spider-Man. There's someone else out there. I don't know who it is. I have no suggestions, really, to be honest. Who?
Zach Joyner.
Oh God.
I would write Amazing Spider-Man for free, but that's just me.
All right. Anyway, I think Spider-Man run's been solid so far. It's not great. It's not a terrible dog crap either, but I just wish it was executed better. But I got to roll, guys. It was good talking to y'all. I'll talk to you later.
Peace,
nice
man.
to meet you, Paul.
All right.
And Paul's gone. Okay, so okay, we got Adam. Adam, what is your grade, my friend?
For everything, let's see. I don't know.
Walter, I'm going to ask you next. So just so you know, or do you want me to go to Walter while you're thinking?
I think I'll go B- too, because that's
all right. So Adam gives it a B-.
I think lowest. The stuff I'm not as a big of a fan of. Those are like C's, and then there have been some B's and maybe a B+ or 2, but
okay,
I'd probably say B-.
All right, Walter, what's your grade?
As someone who just joined the Amazing Spider-Man comic, if I didn't read 63, and had it come in at 64, I would have been very confused. I would have been, because I had no idea why he was making that little trinket at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Then 65 was fairly decent, and then the 65.Deaths that really lowered my grade because it was unnecessary. It was truly an unnecessary issue. It shouldn't have been put out there because it didn't really add anything to the story.
Right.
That's my biggest problem with it. It didn't add anything.
Sure.
And then 66 wasn't bad per se, but it didn't add anything.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, this is all, as much as I like 64, if I was to give a grade on 64 alone, it would be a B. But the rest of it brought that B down.
Okay.
So far, I think this is very mid. They haven't done enough psychological exploration of Peter. Like I said, he hasn't gone through. He's gotten to anger. He's in depression. They really haven't gotten to acceptance. You don't feel like he's going there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say C.
Straight C?
Straight C.
Okay, Walter's grade's a straight C. My grade.
And that's shocking for you all, isn't it?
No, you're being fair. I'm giving it a C minus. As I said, this story does not grab me. The fact that Adam and Paul gave it B's, and Walter and I gave it C's, not surprising. It's look, I think the artwork throughout all the issues, except for maybe the 65 deaths, I think is probably the weakest art. But the rest of the art is really good throughout all these issues. McGinnis has been great. He's kind of bookending these
McGinnis is insane.
Yeah, McGinnis is going to bookend the story.
I
Andrea
can't complain about the art at
Morado,
all. The art was very good, except for 65. I didn't like 65.Deaths. I didn't like that art at all.
I think we're kind of universal now, where the art wasn't bad. It was like but that art is mid. Andrea Baccarado was good. I think they were good. I don't know if it's a he or she. And then Gleb, I think was good.
Great.
I think he did a great job. He should be in the regular rotation. Especially like with a Romita, if you're going to have Romita in the new volume, which they are.
Yeah.
I mean, he would be a good one to follow up Romita Jr.'s books. We know that what's his name? Who's the new artist that's coming?
Pepe Larraz.
Is gonna, I think, do the first 3 or 4 issues and then gonna come back after issue 12, I think. So looking forward to seeing the artwork. So but Baccarado is going to do the next month's worth of books, except for the Buckingham, which I love me some Buckingham. Mark Buckingham, insert that in my veins.
Well, you know me, guys. Well, Adam doesn't really know. I'm more about the story than the art. As long as the art's not really ugly and distracts me from the story.
But the story,
the story here is
it's just okay.
Not doing. It's just okay. I mean, they need to explore the psychology, what Peter's going through a little bit more.
I think and this is no slight against Justine Ireland. I think if you had brought in Joe Kelly and maybe a DeMatteis to write the supplemental stuff, because I think you would have gotten into the psychology of what's going on far more.
I think the problem with Ireland is, and this, sorry, chat. I think Ireland's problem is it's not her story.
Yeah. She's going off of somebody else's plot, and so she's trying to ape the style to make it seem like it's not the same, like it's similar. She's basically just she's trying to
read Joe Kelly's mind in his attention.
Yeah, basically they're in the same email chain and they're just going back and forth, and she's trying to make the story fit into the box that
to Kelly. Be honest with you, with curtailing off of what Paul said, and your chat don't explode, okay? I don't care. I'm gonna be upfront. I really just don't care.
He's a grumpy old man.
I'm 56 years old. I reached a point where this is the one time I'm going to say this word because I'm allowed to do it once. I just don't give a fuck.
Everybody gets one. Okay. I need to clip that from Family Guy.
Okay. Ireland's voice for Peter is on point. I would like to see her to write her own story.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd rather have her come in than Joe Kelly.
Yeah, she would be a more inspired choice to do a run.
I will say this: I like her voice in this story than I did in the Blood Hunt miniseries, because I groaned.
I've always said it takes a writer a little bit of time to find the character's voice.
A great example is Cody Ziegler. I thought he did some of the best Beyond issues with Ben Reilly, and then he took over Miles, and he has been phenomenal on Miles. So
No comment.
That's your favorite buddy. We had Adam doesn't know. We had a long conversation about Miles.
But I think Ireland has Peter's voice. Again, regards to what everything else on the outside of the comic book, I really don't care. I care about getting Peter's voice correct.
Yeah.
His intentions, his psychology,
his
storytelling correct. I don't separate the artist from other shit. Bluntly.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't agree. I love Mel Gibson. I think he's a fantastic director. I think he's a good actor. I will watch his movies. Do I agree with some of the things he said when he was drunk? No.
I don't think anybody did, except for a certain group.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. There are some people that are. I mean, Tom Cruise is a weird son of a bitch. But
you're putting it mildly there, buddy.
But like every time he's in a movie, I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's pretty. Like the man can act his ass off. Now, would I trust him with my child? No. I don't want him babysitting my kid. He's a weirdo.
You're putting your money down. You're putting your money down to be entertained.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're paying $5 a pop for these. I mean, it's not like we're paying. These are.
I felt like, for the most part, I got my money's worth. I wish I could get a refund for 65.Deaths. Okay. Okay. I'm willing to write a letter to Marvel and say I want my money back, plus the time I waste reading that.
Do it. Put it in the letters page.
Oh God.
Oh no, you didn't.
I'm kidding, Nick Lowe. Not friend of the show, but
I mean, I have nothing against with anybody at Marvel compared to where I was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, you were on a list before.
Yeah, if my name showed up someplace on a podcast or a show, it would be black.
There was like a Google alert that showed up at Tom Brevoort's office every time Walter was on a podcast.
But I'm being honest about this. Is a very, I mean, C's not bad. Okay. I mean,
listen, I have read some really crappy Spider-Man books. Okay. There's some of those. Okay. I'll just tell you this. Having read like now everything in Web and everything in Spec and everything, in adjective lists and all that, there are some dog shit stories that were published in the 80s and 90s that I'm like, this was awful. Like Mad Dog Ward and the damn sequel are prison ass.
I mean, I've been reading Spider-Man since the 70s. Okay. I dropped it during the Clone Saga. No offense to you Clone Saga lovers. But you got to remember that storyline.
Oh, I know. You're one of them.
Tended to go for 2 years. And they pushed it for about, 5, 6 years?
No. It was 26 months of story. From the very beginning of it to the end. There's 24 months of Spider-Man books, and then there's 2 months of Scarlet Spider books in the middle.
Bluntly, they went too far with it. Okay, they went beyond the original intention of the story.
Yeah,
and it's like anything else. If the writer says, "Hey, I X amount of issues. This is why I got prepared. This is my cohesive thoughts on this story." You don't go to him and say, "Hey, extend it for another year."
Like, yeah, but
hey!
there was so much financial. There's so much of the turmoil of the bankruptcy and the fact that nothing was selling, the fact the market had crashed, the fact that for the first 6 months that story, or the first 3 months, that story was the best-selling set of books at Marvel, and then they're told, "Hey, your 6-month story, we need to stretch this out," and then
can I do my rant yet?
About what?
Okay, I want to explain the reason why two things. One, why I left, and two, why I came back.
Ah.
Okay. This is for every comic book fan out there, not to anybody in particular. Let me make that perfectly clear. Okay. One more day happened, then brand new day happened. I said at the time, and Zach is very aware I made this statement, I don't feel like these books are being written for me. Okay. And then a writer says, if you don't like it, don't buy it. So I didn't buy it. My problem with One More Day is it's a very insulting story to the fans. Okay. Regardless to how you feel about the marriage, if they would have done a very respectful story to do away with the marriage, I probably wouldn't have a problem with it. Okay. But they didn't. That story has so many plot holes in it, so many out character moments, that it's truly a god-awful story. And anybody who says different most likely hasn't read the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, dude, I was watching I was trying to mindlessly go to sleep the other night, and I was watching a Watch Mojo video, and it was the top 10 list of things that the internet hated. And literally, I think it was number 2 on the list was One More Day.
But here's the thing. Okay. I try to stick through it. Brand New Day. That was the dumbest idea that came out of the Idea Network. Have rotating writers. Okay. I compared it to someone learning how to do stick shift in a car. It's jerky motion. You get used to Joe Kelly, how he told the story. All of a sudden, you got Dan Slott. Then you had Mark Waid. And you were bouncing. The narrative tone was bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay. There was nothing to hang on to as far as a distinctive narrative tone. Okay. It was not, to me, it wasn't an enjoyable experience. Then you had Dan Slott. And I'm not going into the issues that I had with Dan Slott as a person, which I did apologize to Dan Slott for, by the way.
I know.
Make that
I don't know if he ever saw it, but yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he did saw it, and he did respond to it, and he did accept it. I said a lot of hurtful, meaningful things to the man. I don't know the man.
Yeah.
He seems like a nice person. I have seen his interviews with your Comicsgate people in the audience. I saw the interview he did with Ethan Van Sciver. He seemed like a very nice person. All right.
Oh, he's great.
I probably can go out and have a beer with the man and sit there and talk about comic books. All right. But in the same token, I became something I hated. I became a toxic person. I became something that when I look in the mirror, I didn't like. All right. That's the danger of being a fan. You become your own worst enemy. You start hating everything you used to love. And when you realize that that's what you have become, well, it's the time for you to step away. It's time for you to go away. Maybe you'll come back to it. When I went away, I caused God bless Zach. He stuck with me. Zach is a true friend. He stuck with me through all of it. All right. When I got my diagnosis, Zach called me. Go, hey man, you okay? And that's when I start saying, maybe I should get back into the community. I wasn't going to read Spider-Man. There was a point in time you say, you literally have to come to me with a pitchfork and a torch, say, you're going to read this damn book now.
And then he felt sorry for me for doing a solo episode, and that's how we're here.
Yeah, I mean, to be truthfully told, I was surprised by these books. They weren't as god awful as I thought they were going to be. And I went in.
I'm surprised that I didn't hate this book as much as I thought I would.
I went with very, very. I mean, there's expectations, there's mid expectations, there's low expectations, And my expectations were way the frick down there. Okay. And I was pleasantly surprised. To be honest with you, I was.
Well, good.
And I gave it a C because there are problems with the storytelling that I don't agree with. I'm sure Marvel doesn't care about what I got to say, but that's fine. But I have problems with. I have a multiple array of problems. Zach knows I have a lot of problems with the Spider-Verse that he disagrees with me on, but he still is my friend.
We might have to do a solo video where it's just the two of us debating the merits of the Spider-Verse. Don't know why I'm talking like a New Yorker, but it's fine. Adam's just shaking his head at me, and he's muted himself so he doesn't say anything out of turn.
But one of the reasons I came back is for Zach. Okay, yeah, his solo show was painful for me. No offense, Zach.
Ow!
Zach said on that show he needs someone to bounce off of. Okay, I understand Adam's position too.
Yeah,
hello,
look,
hello, Neil. Did you miss me, Neil?
Oh no, Neil, you exposed that you're here.
Neil. You shouldn't have popped up in chat, Neil.
Oh,
especially after I had 2 drinks.
Oh God. Okay, so listen, I thought I did okay. I was walking without a tightrope, man. I had no net.
You did fine. To be honest with you, you did fine. Okay, but you know, 1's good, 2 is great.
For audio listeners, Neil said no. And also, he was making fun of me talking like a New Yorker. Zach's walking here.
Well, as long as he doesn't eat New York pizza, which is about as greasy as the X-Hound.
Listen, hey, New York pizza is the bomb. Okay, like you miss me with that Chicago deep. Like I don't mind Chicago deep dish, but if you're gonna give me New York pizza versus Chicago, I'm gonna go with New York every time.
New York pizza is about is equivalent to putting pineapple on pizza.
That's grounds for removal.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we got through your rant, we're almost at the 2-hour mark, which I'm not surprised considering we had 4 issues to cover tonight. Watching Gang War pop up on stream, Jesus. So okay. So Adam, you're gonna come back. You're gonna come back in March.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be back in March.
So
I'll be back for the end.
So next month, Walter is gonna be with me on ASM, or we'll be covering 3 issues: 67, 68, and 68.Deaths.
Look forward to it. I have plans for next show, by the way.
Yeah, apparently he's going to come in costume. I'm terrified. Oh, before we go out, though, I have to play a voicemail. Somebody left a voicemail. I don't know who it is.
It's Walter.
Adam, you're not supposed to let the audience know.
All right, here's our voicemail.
I told you I would leave a voicemail, now didn't I? I wasn't going to do it in the middle of the show because, well, I probably have to get up and go to the bathroom about 4 times during the show. So. Anyway.
Hey, surprisingly, you haven't.
To see Adam. Hopefully Chris is there.
He's not.
If you are there, Chris. Hi, Chris. And of course, there's the most wonderful person, the most dynamic, the most requested person to be on this panel, who has led the charge for this show on this network.
Okay, Shatner.
To reach astronomical heights. Hi, Walter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
No problem, Walter. Glad to have you here. And there's Zach. I'm just messing with you, buddy. Anyway, I'm keeping my promise, and I know how the show's going to go. At least my part, and I figure I'll call and do a apology before the show. But as long as you play this during the show, I'm good. My apologies not been covered, and we could carry on. Let's have some fun.
You're the most William Shatner in your delivery on the voicemails.
I know it's because I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say. Usually my voicemails is off the cuff.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. I have to. Pause the thought.
Why does okay? I gotta read this. Why does Walter sound like a completely different person on voicemail and on stream? Why are you a horror character in the inbox?
Just for you, Neil. Only for you, Neil. Okay. Can't you read my tagline?
Yeah,
read it, Neil. I'm the voice in your head.
Oh, that's the most
And
terrifying.
I got. Hey, Neil. Okay, hold on.
Whoa. Okay, Joker.
I got a special surprise for you, Neil. Something you should look forward to.
You are not doing anything to take away the Joker vibes right now. So, because that was like Heath Ledger Joker level of creep. Jesus Christ, how horrifying. You know what? On that note, final thoughts for Adam.
What?
I think
Final thoughts, buddy.
Oh, final thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fine story, I guess. I mean, it's a mixed bag overall. It's just.
I think it probably reads better reading all 5 issues at once. You know what I mean?
That's basically what I did. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. So we'll see you in March.
Yeah. Well, you'll see me. You know, I'm always on.
Yeah,
here.
you're gonna be. Well, I'm talking about ASM. We'll see you on
Sure.
ASM in March.
Of course, but I mean, you know, I'm always here doing other books.
Yep. Our next.
please like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord.
Yes, please join our Discord. Become part of the conversation on the Discords. So, looking at February, it looks like our next episode will be Spider-Man number 12. We'll see if it comes out on that particular day. We kind of speculated last time that was like maybe it's going to come out, maybe it's not that week. But so so Spidey Men number 12 will be the next book we cover on the show. Now, the next video that's going to come out is I am still working on the top 10 list for 2024. I know it's already a month into 2025, but better late than ever.
That should be out in July.
Shut up. I'm not as bad as I used to be. Okay. And then after that, probably next month, late in the month or in March, I'll do the CT Toys review of the knockoff of the Mafex Spider-Man. Apparently, they have a CT Toys version of this one, the Spider-Ben. So, but we'll see how long. It's got to come from China. We don't know how long that's going to take. So, yeah. So there'll be some toy stuff. But yeah. So if you have not already, check out our other fine. Oh, let me go through the covers right quick because I made the effort to go through all these covers. So this is the Stonehouse cover, Marvel versus Capcom cover. This is I believe.
What the hell is wrong with his leg?
It's Elizabeth Torque. I don't know why. Scotty Young cover where he's trapped in a jar. Then this is based off Marvel Rivals. Keifu's cover, the guy that did the artwork for the middle issue we did. Another Scotty Young cover. The Spider. Well, so this is like a Fantastic Four variant cover based
Why?
on because Fantastic Four is coming out this year. Then the Scotty Young cover, the black and white version. So yeah, I think that's all the covers. So yeah.
I'm confused.
That's a short trip.
Yeah.
All right. So if you have not already, want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Patrons like Allison, Cindy, Ed, Eric, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jessica, Joyce, Catherine, Kale, Laura Howard, Lump Moose, Master Draymond, Phoenician, RJ, and Vanessa and Vicky. Thank you guys for your support. Also, Sarah, Tara, our spectacular patrons, and then Vinkman and Walter. Thanks, Walter, for being a VIP.
Sure, anytime.
And then we got Books of X, which is one of the shows that is one of the features of the Krakoan era of X-Men, with me and Neil talking about it from the beginning. If you have not checked out all of our interviews from last year, like with Juan Ferreira, with Greg Weisman, with JMD Mateus, go check that out. We've also got Make Mine Mayday, the show about Spider-Girl and whole world. We're going to be talking about the Across the Spider-Verse movie review coming out next week on February the 8th is our tentative schedule. So check that out. Next month will be the 2025 introduction of Voices from the Eyrie with a name, if you've read the Spider-Man novels from the 90s, that will be very familiar. So check that out. Also, check out our Vault series like Amazing Spider-Man Classics, Clone Saga Chronicles, and Spectacular Radio. Also, check out the Sal Buscema era podcast where they're covering the middle parts of the Maximum Carnage storyline. So just had that released. If you've not followed us on the social medias, go find us on Twitter at Spideydude Radio, Facebook, Instagram, Threads at Spideydude Network. If you have not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, like, share, and subscribe. Find us over on YouTube, youtube.com/Spideydude Radio Network. And of course, if you want to leave a voicemail like that guy Walter did earlier, you can leave the voicemail line 818-925-6631. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching us live or after the fact, thank you for listening. You've got all the way through to this particular episode, and we'll see you next time here on the Spideydude Radio Network and the Spideydude Experience.